Hey, Shalom Markins. This is Rakam Makapash from GMS London, giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bashar Chadash. When I give double honors unto the elders, the apostles of GMS, and Shalom out there to the hopeful elect, preaching his truth in all sincerity. Back again with another video. I got this article here on the BBC News, right? It says US discussing options to acquire Greenland, including use of military, says White House, right? So I'm going to title this one, you know, the beast is concerned about the whore. All right, because as we know in prophecy, America, i.e. Babylon the Great, is also the whore that sitteth upon the beast. Right, America is that beast that sitteth upon the whore, which represents the NATO and the EU. Right, and it's these NATO nations that are, putting out their concerns about Trump's or America's wanting of Greenland, right? Because after it went down in Venezuela, it's like these men are moving bold right now, and they're looking to take anything that they want, basically, right? And these men are allies. Greenland is territory of Denmark, okay, which is part of the EU and NATO, right? And these men are allies, and the way he's talking is like, I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna take it, okay. Eventually, I'm gonna take this. Right, despite the concerns of the bloc, okay, they're allies, right? So they're moving really bold right now and talking very harsh words, right? And so they're very concerned, right? They're very concerned right now, and this is going to play its part, as well as other things, in prophecy, in how these allied nations is going to react to America. Okay, when the World War III comes. All right. So I got this article and I got the letter and a separate page. I don't know if I can't remember if it's in this document, in this article or not. But let me open up the scripture, right? It's Daniel chapter 7, and I'm going to start from verse 19 here, right? It says, "Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast," okay, which represents this current kingdom that we're under these Edomites, okay, Rome part 2, right? "Which was diverse from all the others, exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron, and his nails are of brass, which devoured, breaking pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet," right? So this is Rome, okay, the fourth kingdom, right? And this is Rome part 2, right? But this is what he's speaking about, right? Because they are known to have a great military, okay? Same as Rome back then, right? America is the head of all Edomite nations, right? Economically, militarily, everything, right? America is the head, right? The head of NATO, the head of the beast, okay? These NATO nations combined don't compare to America. So America has the ability to do what they want without much resistance, realistically. Yeah, they might talk and say, oh, well, you shouldn't do this, shouldn't do that, and maybe this and maybe that. But what can they really do to stop them? Not much, right? That's why they depend on America to, be the force in the world that they are. All right. So, but again, they were diverse from all others, meaning, they run this thing called democracy, right? Which is a lie, because it's not really democratic, right? It's just it's an illusion of democracy, right? Of democratic rule. It's not. It's still really, it's still like a totalitarian type thing, or under one wicked ruler type thing. It's not. This whole politics that we got is an illusion for us to believe in something, right? It's still being ruled by the wealthy elites, right? It's not really being run by the people or for the people, right? As we see, majority of people don't benefit from this kingdom. Everyone's suffering, right? But the rich seem to benefit a lot all the time, all right? But this is their thing. Democracy is, their their thing, right? Verse 20, and of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. Right, this horn that came out of the 10, okay, is America, right? Which came out of Britain, right? The three, was it said the three horns, isn't it? The three horns that fell before America were the British, okay, the French and the Spanish, okay, and in that whole, time of, American independence, right? That's who they fought off to establish themselves as an independent nation, right? The United States, which came later, they became united, right? Those are the three horns that fell, and that was the one that rose up, America, okay, the little horn, who became greater than the rest of them, far greater. Right after World War II, these other nations were finished. Europe was done, right? America became this great superpower on the planet, right? And really, Europe is in its shadow, right? But because of this, and the particular mentality of certain leadership, particularly in Trump today, right? They have become super bold, right? Super proud, right? They feel that they can move without repercussion, and for the most part, it's true, right? Because no one can really stand before America. That's why when Trump came in power the second time, he just throwing tariffs everywhere. No one that's war worthy. It's war worthy, isn't it? You're gonna slap a tariff on a nation and just destroy it economically. That's war, right? But not only did he do that against his so-called enemies, i.e., China and places like this, he also did it to his friends, his allies in Europe, right? And no one did nothing. No one did a damn thing, And yeah, the tariffs might have been adjusted and that, but they're paying more than what they were paying, a few years back. You know what I'm saying? So the man ain't doing shit. They're having to eat. They're having to eat whatever shit America puts on the table, right? And that just, that's why we call them the hammer of the earth. That's what they are. They're an oppressive force on the planet, right? But like I said, they even treating their friends this way, right? So this can't bode well, for its allies, right? And sorry, it doesn't bode well for America in the future concerning its allies, because they've already been starting resenting them and the way they've been behaving, the way they've been acting, right? They're not friends at all, right? They're obviously just abusing power the power that they have. They're not sticking to no friendly agreements and nothing like that, It's Sirach 14 and verse 5 says, "He that is evil to himself, to whom would he be good?" Right? Esau don't care. Right? As far as he's concerned, might is right. And America is the most powerful nation on the planet. And so they do what they want. Right? They don't care if you don't like it. Especially with guys like Trump, being used at the forefront. Okay, they can establish their boldness in the planet. All right? And say Esau doesn't care about his friends or allies. He's not, that's not how he moves, right? So he that is evil to himself, to whom would he be good, right? So if he treats his friends like this, I'm sure he don't care about the rest of you people, the rest of you other nations. Like I say, he just rolled up into Venezuela and just took it, and now he's running Venezuela. Got their man in the jail right now or whatever, right? Maduro and his wife, They can just do that. And he's talking about Cuba, he's talking about Colombia, he's talking about Greenland. Like, this guy, he's moving mad. All right? So again, he that is evil to himself, to whom will he be good? He shall not take pleasure in his goods. Right? So that's what's going on right now. And their allies are they're scared, they're worried, they're concerned, right? This man's talking about military, use of military in Greenland. It's like, why? What have we done? Right, but let's read some of this, right? It says, US President Donald Trump has been discussing a range of options to acquire Greenland, including use of the military, the White House said. The White House told the BBC that acquiring Greenland, a semi-autonomous region of fellow NATO member Denmark, was a national security priority. So as long as they slap the tag security or national security issue or whatever, they have the right to just go do what they want. Oh, it's a national security to America, so we must do this. Well, what about Denmark's national security? What about everybody else's national security? It don't matter. What matters is America's national security, and they're prepared to take anything under that guise, and do anything under that guise. That's what they've done throughout history. oh, the war on terror, because it's a threat to American, Americans back at home, national security issues, threats, and whatever. And so they go around the earth bombing up countries and bombing up innocent people, for the most part, right? To in the name of protection, security, justice, or whatever, right? But it's all bullshit, you know. The statement came hours after European leaders issued a joint statement rallying behind Denmark, which has been pushing back against Trump's ambitions for the Arctic island. Well, I've got it here. Just read it straight here, right? So this was the joint statement. This is the joint statement on Greenland. Statement by President Macron of France, Chancellor Merz of Germany, Prime Minister Meloni of Italy, Prime Minister Tusk of Poland, Prime Minister Sanchez of Spain, Prime Minister Starmer, UK, right, the United Kingdom, Prime Minister Frederiksen of Denmark on Greenland, right? Arctic security remains a key priority for Europe, and it is critical for international and transatlantic security. NATO has made clear that the Arctic region is a priority, and European allies are stepping up, talking about themselves, because obviously, like, Trump had a go at these men because they're not doing enough, not spending enough money on NATO and the defense and that kind of stuff, right? So he's like, we're stepping up though, we're stepping up, right? Trying to make it seem like, yeah, we're doing something, right? So we and many other allies have increased our presence, activities, and investments to keep the Arctic safe, right? So basically, we're doing what we said we're going to do. So please don't take Greenland. Basically, is what they're saying. Like, please don't do. We're doing more. Right. To keep the Arctic safe and to deter adversaries. Okay, i.e., Russia is what they're really, what's behind that really, right? What they're talking about. And deter adversaries, right? The Kingdom of Denmark, including Greenland, is part of NATO. Security in the Arctic must therefore be achieved collectively in conjunction with NATO allies, including the United States, by upholding the principles of the UN Charter, right? So they're trying to remind them, look, we're all friends here. There's agreements between us. Greenland is part of Denmark, which is a part of NATO. There's no need to do this. Why would you need to do this? Right? We're one. We're supposed to be one. Right? So we just work together in doing these things, right? You ain't got to go around taking a whole fucking country, It says including sovereignty. Let me read that part again. It says by upholding the principles of the UN Charter, including sovereignty, territorial integrity, and inviolability of borders. These are universal principles, and we will not stop defending them. Right? Even when you read this letter, it sounds soft. Even though they're talking about, we're going to defend, like, how? Because you're not really speaking in direct terms here. Stop defending them how? You're not saying if you do this, we're gonna band together to resist you militarily. You're not saying that, right? This letter is really soft, man, because they're scared. The United States is an essential partner in this endeavor. As a NATO ally, and through the defense agreement between the Kingdom of Denmark and the United States of 1951, Greenland belongs to its people. It is for Denmark and Greenland and them only to decide on matters concerning Denmark and Greenland. All right. So that was that was the statement they made, right? So back in the article, Trump repeated over the weekend that the US needed Greenland, right? So it's not even just like, it's just a thought. No, it's a plan. It's a real plan that these men want to take it, right? And so what these men going to do then, right? So the weekend US needed Greenland for security reasons, prompting Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen to warn that any attack by the US would spell the end of NATO, right? He didn't say, as a war act or anything like that we're going to rise up and do that. He just said it's by the end of NATO, because it will create division and divide. But that all goes into, the toes of iron, part of iron, part of clay. They were divided. And that's what's happened, division. Trump is causing further division because of where he's acting. The White House said on Tuesday, the president and his team are discussing a range of options to pursue this important foreign policy goal. it's an important goal, i.e., yeah, we're actively pursuing this, right? And of course, utilizing the US military is always an option at the commander in chief's disposal, right? So he's saying this to scare them, to basically have them just give it up because they don't want to fight. NATO and Europe don't want to fight America. They don't want to break that special relationship that these men fucking talk about. It was bullshit, right? So they're just, he's saying it to put pressure on them just to give it up without a fight. Right? Whether or not, Trump would actually go into the military, who fuck knows, man. But these guys at NATO, these EU members, bro, they're under pressure right now. Right? And they have no power to stand before America. And so they're being mistreated. They're being bullied. They're being bullied. Right? Let's say Trump ain't just bullying, all these other nations outside of Esau's, kingdom per se. Right? It's all Esau's kingdom, but you know what I mean. These heathen nations, right? He's doing it to his own boys, man. His own peeps, his own allies. Okay. So NATO is a transatlantic military group in which allies are expected to go to each other's aid in case of external attacks. But what if it's internal? What do you do then? U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio also told lawmakers at the classified briefing on Capitol Hill on Monday that the Trump administration did not plan to invade Greenland, but he mentioned instead of buying the island from Denmark, the Wall Street Journal... Hold on a second, read that again. Something fell off. But he mentioned instead of buying the island from Denmark. Okay, whatever, right? Afterwards, the State Department spokesperson told the BBC on Tuesday that the US is eager to build lasting commercial relationships that benefit Americans and the people of Greenland, just like Venezuela. Some man might have to come out of power, though, The spokesperson added, our common adversaries have been increasingly active in the Arctic. That is a concern that the United States, the Kingdom of Denmark, and NATO allies share. Greenland and Denmark previously said that they had asked to meet Rubio quickly to discuss American claims on the island. Denmark's Foreign Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen said speaking with America's top diplomat should resolve certain misunderstandings. It's all just a misunderstanding, On Tuesday, 6 European allies expressed support for Denmark. Okay, I read that quote. Stressing that they were as keen as the US in Arctic security, the European signatories of the joint statement said that this must be achieved by NATO allies, including the US collectively. They also called for upholding the principles of the UN Charter, including sovereignty, territorial integrity, and inviolability of borders. Is Greenland for sale? Greenland's Prime Minister Jens Frederick Nielsen welcomed the statement and called for a respectful dialogue. Because that's all they want to do. They don't want to, they ain't going to sit there and defend it militarily. So if America wanted to, they could take it. They're not going to rise up military against America. So the talking is all they can do. All right. So the dialogue must take place with respect for the fact that Greenland's status is rooted in international law and the principles of territorial integrity. When did that ever matter? International law, bro. All you guys break international law when it suits you, and especially America, right? So you're talking all this stuff, but these men have never respected that, really, right? But then you say, well, you should respect it, all right? The issue of Greenland's future resurfaced in the wake of U.S. military intervention in Venezuela, during which elite troops seized the country's president Nicolas Maduro and took him to face drug and weapons charges in New York. A day after that raid, Kate Miller, the wife of one of Trump's senior aides, posted a map on social media of Greenland in the colors of the American flag, alongside the words "soon." He's been intimidated. On Monday, her husband, Stephen Miller, said it was the formal position of the U.S. government that Greenland should be part of the U.S. Asking repeatedly in an interview with CNN whether America would rule out using force to annex it, right? Which is the same thing that Russia's done to Crimea, by the way. They annexed Crimea away from Ukraine, right? Because it was previously Russian territory, right? These men are just going to do the same thing to Denmark. Well, it was it should be part of ours. It's nearer to us. We'll just take it. The mark's way over there. It should belong to us. It's U.S. territory. Um, I keep losing my place. There it is. Okay. So whether America would rule out using force to annex it, many responded, nobody's going to fight the US over the future of Greenland. And he is absolutely correct. No one is going to fight the US over the future of Greenland. Now, they might do all the talks. They might come to some agreement, some arrangement. That's not so bad, not as bad as it were if they just took it. But best believe, man, whatever deal is on the table for them to give it up is going to be a shitty one for Europe ultimately. But they're gonna, smile and shake hands in front of the cameras. This is gonna benefit all of us. But America should be shafting everybody, right? Because no one is prepared to fight the US over anything. That's the issue. America is too strong, too powerful, and Europe is weak. That's the truth, right? But like I said, that whore is the one wielding the beast. Is wielding these other NATO nations for its agendas. They get dragged into America's wars in the Middle East and whatever, to keep up the relationship, the special relationship, right? To be in good books, be in good favor with America. Because they need America. They're fucking desperate. UK and the rest of fucking Europe is desperate, man. Especially when, America made all these decisions with concerns with Russian gas and stuff like that. You can't take Russian gas no more. Germany's fucked. Once a thriving economy is now struggling, man. Right, because of the terms and conditions that America is laying on everybody. Because it's the head. Right, and like I said, it's breeding resentment, man, and hate is festering. Hate is festering, man. Right? Revelation 17 and 16, right? I'm going to start from verse 15 here, right? And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, right? America sitteth on, right? Are peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. He sits on them. Right? He don't let up. Right? And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. Okay, i.e. NATO, the NATO nations, the EU members, right? That are part of NATO. These shall hate the whore. They're going to hate the whore. They're going to hate America. They're hating. Right? They're pissed off with them. Right? Because of how they're being treated. Right? These shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. And Most High, well, he's going to say it, right? But the Most High, all these nations that have got nuclear capabilities in Europe, man, they're going to shoot. They're going to shoot right along with Russia, man, right, at America to destroy it. Right, as it's written here, right? It says, verse 17, for God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, right? Because it's the Most High desire to destroy America, right? And the Most High is going to put that spirit in the rest of these people's hearts and minds to do the same, to destroy it. Right, that big red button's going to get pushed. Right, and they're not going to spare no arrows, man. No missiles are going to be spared. They're all going to go there. And that's why America's going to get so fucked up. Right? For God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and to give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of God shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city. Okay, that woman, which is this whore, who sitteth on the beast, right? Is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. America is that city or that nation that reigneth over the kings of the earth. All these other rulers, all these prime ministers in that letter begging for mercy, begging for understanding. They were in this letter, reminding, that we're all friends. We're friends. You don't have to do this. We're friends. Because he reigneth over the kings of the earth, man. These men are little compared to America. All right, and that's why they're shook. Because they could just go into Greenland and take it. They got hardly any army there or whatever it is. It's easy. It's an easy job. It's way easier than Venezuela. Who knows? But yeah. Let me come back to. I'm gonna come to the top here, right? Revelation 17 verse 1, and they came out of the seven angels. Sorry, there came one of the seven angels, which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither. I will shew unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, i.e. America, right? With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication, because they're all under America's thumb only. This is why so many places are Americanized. Like, yeah, you can say it's westernization, but the culture in America is very different still here over there than it is over here in the UK. But it's Americanized. Everything is becoming more Americanized. That is the peak of Western civilization is America. Everybody wants to be like America. Everyone there's a fucking McDonald's and all these American restaurants everywhere. Where's the British ones? They're not they're not popping like everywhere you go is a McDonald's. Everywhere you go is a fucking KFC or some shit. Kentucky Fried Chicken. Where the fuck's Kentucky here? They're not. It ain't from Kentucky. It's from I don't know where the fuck we get our chicken from, but it ain't from Kentucky. All right. Fucking 11 special secret spices and seasonings or whatever, man. It ain't fucking from Kentucky, right? But it's all Americanized. Okay, we being Americanized, right? Because that influence is spread everywhere, right? That's why you're gonna find all these different branches and chains of restaurants and fucking, companies all over the world because the world is being Americanized, right? So yeah, and the habits of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of a fornication. All its all its rules, its it's moral compass, for lack of better words, man. All this LGBT thing they promote that, they support that, and all a bunch of other things that they support, like abortions and all these different types of things, right? That these men push. So yeah, that's what I really wanted from the top, right? So yeah, like I said, America's this whore that sits upon these nations, man, and they're pissing off the beast, right? These 10 horns that are part of this beast, they're pissing it off, right? So verse 7, let me read verse 7. And the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carrieth her. Right, she sits on this beast because she's the head of this beast. She is the handler. She got the fucking the collar, the collar and chain on this beast, right? And it carries her, right? Which have the 7 heads and 10 horns. Okay, and so this beast is gonna hate the whore, right, and burn her with fire. Okay. Let's see if there's anything else in here. Mad. Okay. I'll read some of this. So Greenland, which has a population of 57,000 people, has had extensive self-government since 1979, though defense and foreign policy remain in Danish hands. While most Greenlanders favor eventual independence from Denmark, right, because these people that are there are not Danes. That's what you call them, right? They're Inuits, right? They're look what it, man. Natives of that land, right? While most Greenlanders favour eventual independence from Denmark, opinion polls show overwhelming opposition to becoming part of the US, which already has a military base on the island. Right, so they already got a garrison there. Morgan Angaju, 27, an Inuit living in Ilulissat, in the west region of the country, told the BBC it had been terrifying to listen to the leader of the free world laughing at Denmark and Greenland and just talking about us like we're something to claim. Well, the world is America's oyster, man. We are already claimed by the Greenlandic people. Kalalit Nunat means the land of the Greenlandic people, right? Morgan said. He added that that he was worried about what happens next, wondering whether Greenland's prime minister may suffer the same fate as Maduro. Yeah, right? Or even about the US invading our country. An unnamed US official told Reuters news agency that the American options included the outright purchase of Greenland or forming a compact of free association with territory, With what money? Man, you in serious ass debt, man. You're gonna add more debt. But Americans can just print. So, they got money. Like they ain't got money for fucking food stamps, SNAP and all these and that. They ain't got no money for that. But suddenly they, as a fucking whole country that's available. I wouldn't say available for sale, but you're eyeing up this country you're gonna buy for fucking billions, possibly trillions. Who knows how much it costs these days? Because they made an offer, I don't know, a while back, right? It was in the billions, like almost a trillion or some shit, right? So it's got to be more now, surely. you know, yeah, but you got money just to throw around for these things and war and whatever. It's crazy, but there you go. I think they're just in talks right now. He said, "My hope is that Europe would understand that a strong America is good. It's good for Western civilization. Is it? Everyone's getting shafted. How is it good?" Uh, so Trump floated his idea of acquiring Greenland as a strategic US hub in the Arctic during his first presidential term, saying in 2019, essentially it's a large real estate deal. There is growing interest from Russia and China in the island, which has untapped rare earth deposits, as melting ice raises the possibility of new trade routes. Yeah, but they ain't going out there to fucking buy the land, are they? They're doing deals or whatever, right? But they don't want them there. So we're just gonna buy it, and so you can't be there. So March Trump said America will go as far as we have to go to get control of the territory. During a congressional hearing last summer, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth was asked if the Pentagon had plans to take Greenland by force if necessary, and he said they have plans for any contingency, right? Because now they're the Department of War, they're ready for war, so they're in that mindset now. They're bold, they're stout, right? And so they're gonna do what they feel they need to do, and if you don't want to just hand it over, we'll take it. They're not really being given many options. It's like we're gonna take it one way or another. So you want to do it the easy way or the hard way. And these men can't do the hard way. They can't do the hard way. So it's gonna have to be the easy way, isn't it? The men are gonna hand it over, sell it off, or whatever it is they're gonna come to. But they're gonna be fucking salty about it, man. These NATO nations are gonna be salty as fuck about it, right? But they're gonna smile. They're gonna smile in front of the cameras and act like everything's all right. But these men are gonna be pissed. All right. Let's see what got left here. It's Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 4. It says, "Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. Yea, also because he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home." Stay your ass. Boy, you're in America. America is not even your home, bro. You should have kept your ass back in Edom. But no, you everywhere taking everything from everybody, right? Neither keepeth at home who enlargeth his desire as hell. Oh, we want that. We want Greenland. Oh, we want Venezuela. Oh, we want Cuba, Colombia. We're gonna take it all down. Go for America. All this shit. And is as deaf and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations and heateth unto him all people. He wants to own everything. He wants to control over everything and everyone, right? Shall not all these take up a parable against him and a taught proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increases that which is not his? Yeah, you want Greenland because it's got all these resources and shit, but it don't fucking belong to you, man. Take your hands off. Right? These Inuits that are there, bro, it's their land. Let them do what the fuck they want to do with it. Oh, but they're not utilizing it good enough. You know what I mean? There's so much oil there, so much minerals and resources that it should really be, someone should take it. And we can't let China and Russia take it. So we have to go in there and take it. Fuck these Inuit people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they ain't using the land right. These men are so fucking, such devils, man. It's unreal, man. It's so fucking, all this democracy bullshit, the human rights and that. They don't give a fuck about none of that, man. It's national security. Like, we need to take your land. You need to fucking take your land, man. and build fucking infrastructure on it. And make money out of it. You ain't gonna make shit, but never mind. It's the way the cookie crumbles, isn't it? Like these Venezuelans are going to benefit for anything that's, any deals that are done in Venezuela. The average Venezuelan ain't gonna get nothing. Only the rich. All these men are set up. Anyway, yeah. Shall not all these take up a parable against him and a taught him proverb against him and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long unto him that ladeth himself with thick clay? Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee? Thou shalt be for booties unto them, because thou hast spoiled many nations. All the remnant of the people shall spoil thee because of men's blood and for the violence of the land of this and of the city and of all that dwell therein. Woe to him that converteth an evil covetousness to his house, right? So we can look at this as Esau as a whole, man. But if you want to hyper focus on America, that's what they're doing against their allies, man. They're trying to make them put themselves in the best ever position and at the cost of everybody else. So woe to him that converteth an evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. All the Russians and the Chinese, they're out there, they're a threat, and so we need this because we need to ensure our security. But you can benefit too because we're part of NATO, right? We're bros. So, but I need to do this. Well, why can't just Denmark just be there and do what they're doing with the rest of the allies? No, America, you need to own that. You need to own that. You need to own it. We need to farm it. We need to extract everything out of it, right? So we can defend against the Russians and the Chinese or whatever. All right, if you say so. Thou hast consulted shame to thy house by cutting off many people and hast sinned against thy soul. It says, the stone shall cry out of the wall, and the beam out of the timber shall answer it. Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood and establish a city by iniquity. All right. Yeah, these men are just, like I said, they're more stout than the fellows, man, and they don't give no Fs about their allies. Right? They're just doing what they want because they got the power. Right? And they say they even look down on the rest of their peoples, man. You've got no power, man. You've got no respect. So Isaiah 14:16, they that see thee shall now look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble and did shake kingdoms? And so everyone's kind of shook right now and wondering what America's going to do next. Right? Even these other superpowers, if you want to class China as one, right, and Russia, they're like, shit, man. What are these men going to do next, man? It's like, they're not going to, they've not been too verbal from what I've seen thus far. They've said their little thing, right? But, and, they're concerned too. They're concerned too, But it seems like these European allies and stuff, man, they're more concerned, man. They're more shook, right? Because they know they're in the crosshairs right now of their own peeps, right? So yeah, they called the earth to tremble and shake kingdoms, right? That made the world as a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the houses of his prisoners, right? Well, the hero is going to find out about that. He ain't going to be let go. He's facing time right now. Or, who knows what's going to happen with him? Who knows, or, what they're going to decide to do with him, That's what I wanted from that, right? So, last scripture here, right? Obadiah 1:7, right? And this is the prophecy, other than the Revelation, was it 17 that I read? Yeah, 17, right? Obadiah 1:7 says this, right? It says, I'm start from verse 6. How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? Pardon me. All the men of thy confederacy, your allies, right? All those are supposed to be with you, right? Have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee, right? Because Europe is playing this America's bitch right now. You think you're thinking they're compliant because you think you got the fear over them, right? But these men actually are going to turn on you, right? Because the Most High are going to give them that Dutch courage, right, to go against you, right? And that's when you're gonna be like, oh shit, I didn't think they had it in them. I didn't think they would do it. I thought they were a bitch, but they're gonna do it. They're gonna do it. Right? All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee, and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. Right? There's no changing their minds. You know, you ain't gonna be able to talk your way out or talk it over. These men are like the most likely gonna have that spirit on them where they're set against you, man. Right? They ain't trying to do no talk or deal because you don't uphold shit anyway. America, like I said, just a bully. Like, you don't uphold shit. You go back and change things, and you make decisions that make things worse for everybody else, right? So they ain't, they ain't gonna be in that spirit, man. All this fucking, special relationship talk. Like, they ain't gonna be no talking. Most are gonna have that dead cold spirit on them as man, fuck them. Right? They need to go. These men have been causing too much problems. Right? But that's gonna be the end of everything. Because as soon as you take America's taken down, everyone else is finished. There ain't gonna be no rulership that's gonna come out of you afterwards. Right? The Most High is using you to put your down in your own coffin. Right? So yeah. Again, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding him, right? So they're going to turn on you, man. All right, they're going to do it. All right. Shall I not in that day, saith Lord, even destroy the wise men out of Edom and the understanding out of the mount of Esau? And thy mighty men of O Teman shall be dismayed to the end that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. All right. So that's the prophecy concerning, the whore, which is America, and the beast, the horns, right, which represents the NATO and the EU, and their relationship as it crashes, as it breaks apart. I mentioned the toes of iron and the toes of clay. Part iron, part 10 toes of iron and part clay, right? They're breaking apart. They're divided, right? And these divisions are or these rifts are growing deeper, right? And that resentment is growing, right? And these are the prophecies concerning it, right? So this is all good. For us, it's all good because, like I said, it shows you that prophecy is always at work. All right. And it's going to, culminate, right, into, what we're reading here, to the end of America, right, and the beginning of our Lord's kingdom. All right. So I'm going to end it there. Lord, when this has been edifying, and I'll catch you brothers and sisters in the next video. Until next time, I say shalom.